We are in pursuit of Thomas Tuchel right now because he wants an improved performance when England face Senegal tomorrow in an international friendly. He's been speaking to our football correspondent Rob Dorset, who's in George's Park for us, which is where we're heading right now. Good to see you as always, Rob. Look, Tuchel's criticism was quite refreshing, wasn't it? And he's kind of saying that he doesn't regret that and he's comfortable with that's the way going forward, yes?
Yeah, Thomas Tuchel is unapologetic. And you're right. Look, Vicky, what you just said there about Thomas Tuchel's criticism being refreshing, I agree with that. I think from a media and a fan's perspective, it's very refreshing to see a manager saying, it just wasn't good enough, was it? Let's be honest. And he didn't like the attitude of the players, particularly in the latter stages of that dismal 1-0 win over Andorra in the World Cup qualifier on Saturday. Very different from his predecessor, Gareth Southgate, as a lot of football managers do. They protect their players. They don't want to speak out against them directly. They leave that to the quiet and the privacy of the dressing room. But you've got to remember that Thomas Tuchel has a complete mandate by his bosses here at the FA to speak like that. He's been brought in to make that fine detail, that fine tuning, which is good enough to take England past a final. They've been in 2 Euros finals under Gareth Southgate, over the winning line, so they can actually lift a piece of silverware. So Tuchel's not pulling any punches. He's quite happy to criticise and say when things aren't right, because he believes that the FA bosses and the players want that extra input. They want that criticism. They want that that sort of level of criticism to take them to that final stage. Have a listen to what the England manager said and make up your own minds. But yeah, after a pretty scowling Thomas Tuchel the other night, after that 1-0 win in Barcelona, he seems a lot more cheery. He's reevaluated and he's ready to go again.
I protect my players. I said no names of players, and it's not an individual matter, but we as a team, we simply didn't match our own standards. And like I said, I didn't like the last 10 minutes because I felt at the sideline that we didn't play serious enough to win it in the end, what we needed to do in a World Cup qualifier. What I tell you, I already told before the team directly. So there are no messages that I give via a press conference. Everything I say here, I already said to the players. And why should we sugarcoat it? Why should I mean, you have been in the stadium. Why should I tell you that we had a good game and we are happy with what we did if we're not happy? So I think there's no harm done. We can handle criticism, and I always strongly believe that a group of football players, a team in football can speak honest to each other. I always include myself. It's always a we message that we try to give, and now it's on us to do better.
Yeah, that seems to be his remit. It certainly was like that, wasn't he, at Chelsea as well? Very honest. So is Tuchel giving much away about his plans for tomorrow, though?
Not a lot. We tried to get a bit out of him, Vicky, but no, he didn't give us too many ideas. Although you read between the lines and you can glean one or two things about what he's thinking. Bukayo Saka, we spoke to at this news conference. We'll hear from him in just a moment. That's a pretty clear indication that we think he's going to be in the starting 11 tomorrow on the right wing for England. And certainly Thomas Tuchel said that he had a bit of a knock that meant he didn't train an awful lot last week, but he was hopefully be available for this game. So yeah, Bukayo Saka on the right. And Tuchel was asked who his captain would be tomorrow night, and Tuchel replied rather sort of cryptically that, well, he doesn't see any changes to the England captaincy right now, which is, I think, a pretty strong indicator that Harry Kane will lead the line again tomorrow against Senegal. I wonder what Bayern Munich will make of that, of course, because Kane is supposed to join them straight after this camp, along with a lot of other England players, for the Club World Cup. But it looks like he's going to start both matches. And I asked Thomas Tuchel about Ivan Toney as well and whether he's in his thoughts, and he said yes, he'd like to try and get him some game time. So I think the impression we get is that this will probably be a stronger England lineup tomorrow, probably with Declan Rice coming back off the bench, probably with Miles Lewis-Skelly starting at left back. But what you hear from the England manager now is he's going to go a bit more orthodox. It's not going to experiment. He's not going to change as much as he did for that Andorra game, with the expectation it'll lead to a better performance against better opposition.
Once I step into a good stadium, once I see the grass, I smell the grass, I see 7,000 English supporters there ready to go, I'm instantly on, and I'm instantly expecting something, of course, from myself and from the players. So and it will be the same for tomorrow. Of course, I'm impatient, and we want to do better. We are thinking of giving the players maybe a little bit more freedom within the structure. Let's see. Still think it was a very offensive structure, a very offensive lineup that we tried to break the line down. Tomorrow we face a more physical, a more demanding team, and we will maybe in the first look at the paper not be as offensive as we were against Andorra, but maybe give the player a little bit more freedom to express themselves, and hopefully we see the next step maybe.
OK, looking forward then for Thomas Tuchel there. But what about the players? You mentioned Bukayo Saka. He's also spoken to the media. What does he make of Thomas Tuchel?
Look, it's lovely to speak to Bukayo Saka. He's very honest, he's very humble whenever he speaks. And he's now an experienced member of this England squad, even though the fact he's only 23. So I think the FA and Thomas Tuchel are hoping he'll take on more of the media duties going forward and take on this senior position that he's now got, the status that he's got in this England squad. But you're right, it was Gareth Southgate who gave him his England debut, who brought him through into the senior England fold, who was very much like a father figure to Bukayo Saka through some pretty dark times when he received some racist abuse, both on and off the pitch. And Gareth Southgate is no longer there. Thomas Tuchel is the new man. And Saka missed the first training camp and the first international matches under Thomas Tuchel in March because of injury, and he wasn't able to play in that first game against Andorra on Saturday night because he was still recovering from a bit of a knock that he brought into camp. So this will be the first time that Saka gets to play under Thomas Tuchel. It's his first experience of what the manager is like, and he refused to compare him with Gareth Southgate out of loyalty, but he says so far from the German coach he really likes what he sees.
I don't really like to compare, if I'm honest. You know, one person's qualities is always going to be overshadowed. So if I had to speak about Thomas himself, since I come into the camp, I guess he's been, quite demanding, I'd say, quite intense on the pitch. And off the pitch, he's been more relaxed, nice guy, let us enjoy ourselves and create a nice environment for all the players to enjoy.
It strikes me there's a growing maturity and realisation in Bukayo Saka of just how important he is to his country and their hopes of winning a major trophy, as he has for Arsenal as well. He knows that he's one of the senior figures, most important players for both club and country right now. And when you see him speaking to the media like that, you get the sense that he's maturing nicely into that role and that level of responsibility. Bear in mind, he's still only 23 years old, and when he goes to next summer's World Cup, that will be his fourth major tournament with England. Quite extraordinary for a man of his tender years. But we'll see Bukayo Saka out training with England very, very shortly, and the rest of that England squad. Let's see if we can get an idea of who looks sharp, who Thomas Tuchel might be thinking to throw in to the starting 11 for Senegal at the City Ground tomorrow night. England on the pitch here at St George's Park at 4 p.m.
Brilliant stuff, as always. Thank you very much, Rob.